welcome to another marvelous episode of College Football Nation, hosted by me, Lever KT, a.k.a. the governor of college football, and we got a lot of exciting things we want to talk about today. I'm going to kind of do a spoiler alert. Most of what we will be talking about today is the big game tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the Cotton Bowl between Miami and Ohio State. Viewership is going up 100%. I truly appreciate everybody for that who's been tapping into these videos, and even the ones who've been hating, thank you for tapping into the videos. I do appreciate the ones who say, hey, I disagree. I respectfully disagree, and here's why. But if you just say outlandish things and say stuff stupid, I'm sure y'all been saying me heavy in them comment settings, and that's going to continue to be what it is. You say something crazy, I'm going to say something crazy back. I don't believe in turning off a cheek. I'm just not that type of person. So let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. Latest portal tracker news. If you've been watching the show for a little bit, you know how we get down. Auburn stud wide receiver Coleman has entered the portal, and he instantly on 247 Sports went to the number one player in the transfer portal. This is mega because we've seen him deal with the last 2 years at Auburn. We've seen him deal with inconsistent quarterback play. We've seen it with Peyton Thorne, and then we've seen it with the host of quarterbacks that they had this year as well, starting with Jackson Arnold. It's really been frustrating to see what this kid's had to deal with, and whoever get this behemoth of a wide receiver, I'm sure one of the main things his focus is, one, or getting to the NFL, which he will get to the NFL because he's still a wide receiver, but also he's going to want to go play with the quarterback who he trusts, who's been there and done that, and that delivers at a very high level. So this is a stud alert right here. Cam Coleman entering the portal. I was thinking that maybe he could fit in Alex Golden's system, same system he ran at Tennessee, same system we've seen Joey Hazel have a lot of success with as of recent at Tennessee as well, with them being able to score points and punches. But he decided to test the waters and see what it's like. So he's about to get paid, at least at the collegiate level. He's also going to get paid at NFL level as well. So I'm interested to see where he lands, but stick around for best fits, round 4. I have an idea where I think he may land. Auburn quarterback Deuce also enters the portal. And I think this is just a sign of the times. It's just a sign of, hey, Byron Brown is in the portal. Byron Brown does understand this offense. It's similar to what we seen at FAU a season ago during that portal season where Caden Van Camp, who had, so much success at Western Kentucky, and it was a question whether he would leave or not, but he decided to follow Zach Kittley, who he worked with, a couple of years prior, before Zach Kittley was in Lubbock. I think it was the second time he was in Lubbock, and he went to FAU, and he was able to really get things started for Zach Kittley down there at FAU. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Deuce Knight, but him entering the portal isn't a surprise. A lot of these kids are like, hey, I have the talent. I've shown that I have the ability to start. I'm going to go somewhere and start, or at least have the opportunity to compete for a starting position. To have to learn a new playbook, and there's a guy that's coming in with an extreme amount of talent, and he can play at a very high level. Yes, sir, Giovanni Foster's in the building. Salute. How you doing? Brother? So it's very interesting. North Texas quarterback. We knew this one a long time ago. The minute that Eric Morris, it was announced that he'll be leaving North Texas and going to Oklahoma State, we knew it was just a matter of time. I think there's no surprise here with him entering the portal, and I think there would be no surprise that he will end up in Stillwater next year and leading the charge for the new regime and the new era of Oklahoma State Cowboys football. And also Kentucky edge Javion Campbell has also entered the portal. So that's our latest portal news. Make sure you guys, you think the North Texas quarterback is overrated? One thing I like about Giovanni don't come in here holding no punches. You gonna know how he feel ASAP, man. He punching already. I like that. So we're gonna talk about this Ohio State and Miami game, and we put out a video last week. It did very well. Comment section was crazy. I'm in there fighting with people, not really fighting with people, but I'm like, yo, it's one thing. If you don't like our opinion on something, or you don't have the same take we had, that's cool. We're not always supposed to agree. This is college football. Everybody has a different take about college football, but you're not going to be disrespectful. Like, I'd rather you be disrespectful to me before you disrespectful to my brothers, because I'm going to say something. That's the way I've always been, and that's how I operate. So, damn good game we got tomorrow night, New Year's Eve. I will be over at my parents' house watching this game. My dad just teased me. I'm a Bills fan. It's all about the U, right? This game great history, honestly, great tradition when we flash back just, what was that, 23 years ago. And that's what I look at when I look into this game. My early thoughts is Ryan Day's ability to get that monkey off of his back a year ago with winning that national championship. I think that's huge for him. That was huge for Ohio State, and Ohio State's perspective and respect changed for Ryan Day once he won that national championship. Because when they lost that game, not this past year, of course they beat Michigan, but last year when they lost that game to Michigan, there was people that still wanted him gone. And this was like the past 3 or 4 years. People say, hey, we want Ryan Day gone. He wins the national championship. Everybody, that kind of go by the wayside. And he beat Michigan this year. Yeah, that's perfect. When I look at Mario Cristobal, I think Mario Cristobal, this playoff season and the season, and since returning to the U, as a head coach now, of course he played there back in the day. I think his mission is to kind of get some of those monkeys off of his back as well. You look at some of the talent that he had at Oregon. You look at some of the mismanagement as a head coach, like time management situations with him. That's always seemed to have written him as well. So I look at this game. I look at Ryan Day, who has the buy-in from the staffers, the boosters, the donors, the fan base. I look at Mario Cristobal. He also has that buy-in, and I know that Fiesta Bowl way back in 2002, pass interference or not pass interference, however you feel it, Miami will be looking for get back. I can promise you that, 1,000%. So let's start talking about Ohio State's offense. We'll go right into the next segment. Ohio State offense, there's a lot to deal with when you think about Ohio State offense. Is headed by Julian, Sayin, of course, and then the outstanding wide receivers that they have in Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. They really get things going offensively for this team. And heading into the Indiana game, when I looked at Ohio State, my biggest concern for that program was like, hey, they kind of coasted through the season. Even the Texas game, they had a lead, and Texas was trying to come back at the end. But for the most part through the season, they were just able to coast through games. And my biggest concern heading into the Indiana game, and the reason why me and Jalen on College Football Showdown chose Indiana is because we felt like Ohio State hadn't been to the deep water. That, it's a good thing when you coast through games and you're able to beat teams the way that Ohio State was beating teams, and the way that they were confusing not only quarterbacks, they were also confusing coordinators. But at some point, you need to have that ability to play in the deep water. That's exactly what they need to have the ability to do. They need to have that ability to play in the deep water. I think the biggest X factor for this game is Ohio State offensive line and their ability to win that war of attrition for the line of scrimmage. Hey, Squid Tentos, what's happening with you? Shout out to you. I know you can't wait for TCU, bro. Their run game is trash. It's not as effective as some of the better programs or in the past that we've seen. But, Jackson had a pretty solid season this year of running the ball. And it was kind of like a running back by committee. But the biggest thing for Ohio State will be winning that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. They absolutely have to do that because that defensive line is stout for Miami. It's absolutely stout. And guess what? They don't get enough credit. Another thing to worry about here on the offense side of the ball is this. We know that Brian Hartline called plays for them this past season. Brian Hartline is at USF. Ryan Day will be doing the play calling heading into this game. What does that look like for him being in that role? And you look at this offense players that's been there, at least 1+ year, there's just differences in play calling. You had Chip Kelly a year ago. You just had Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline is down at USF. Now Ryan Day is calling the plays. There's just certain little nuances. I don't think things have changed big, but at his core, at his heart, Ryan Day is absolutely an offensive coordinator. So I don't think it'll be a big deal, but it's certainly something to watch when I think about this team and this team's ability to have success. It's going to come down to the line of scrimmage because when I tell you this Miami's defensive line is outstanding, it's truly outstanding, and I know Ruben Bain gets a lot of the credit, a lot of the name, but they're good at all three levels. Speaking of which, let's move right along and talk about Miami's defense. This defense is real deal. This defense is nasty. Like I just said a couple of moments ago, this defense is great at all three levels. It's not just the front four that causes disruption, but it's what gets everybody going, right? Ahkeem Mesidor was a guy we was able to talk to at ACC Media Days. This is why it's important for anybody that wants to get into this realm, get to these places. It is super important to get to these places and go to media days and be able to talk to players, especially like we don't live down in Miami. Moon lives in Atlanta. I live in Virginia. Like, we have people a little bit everywhere. Nino's in the Boston area. But dog, Boomer is down there in the Oklahoma area. D now is in Ohio. So we're all in different places, but it's important for us each and every year to get to these media days because you get to see things. But in talking to Ahkeem Mesidor heading into this year, it was the calmness in the way he said they will be successful this year. It was 100% Giovanni Foster. The secondary is better than from last year. Agree. Ryan Day is an aggressive coach, and he will take chances, and he will get those chances. Miami will have to make them play. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So, in looking at this defense, they're really good at all three levels. But while Ruben Bain gets a lot of the claim, and deservingly so, Mesidor is really good anchor. He's able to rush the quarterback, able to get those pressures, able to get those hurries, able to get those sacks, able to get those tackles for loss. They are stout up front. Will Ohio State be able to win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage? Will they be able to run the rock? Will they be able to set up the play action that they like to do off the run? These are the questions that I have when I look at this game, and I think it's the biggest X factor, honestly. Can that front five of Ohio State block this nasty defense of Miami? Alrighty, who's anchored by Corey Heatherman. Now let's talk about Shannon Dawson, one of my favorite coordinators in all of college football. If you've been following this, I am actually, and I know Miami is in a playoff, and I'll give you my prediction on who I win in just a second. But I'm already thinking about who's going to be the heir apparent to Carson Beck. I'm already thinking about it. You see some of the guys that are in a portal right now. Jesus Christ. I can't wait to see. January 2nd is when this thing starts. We'll start hearing about deals on the 1st, which is a couple of days from today. So I'll probably go live. Actually, I will be going live because I'm supposed to go live, but I may be doing a couple-hour show that day. So, Miami's offense is legit. It really is legit. And one thing I can say about Miami this year, they have played up the competition when it matters most. Notre Dame, big bad Notre Dame, they handle business. Handle business accordingly. And I know the score was close, and Notre Dame tried to make that push at the end. Miami showed that they were the better team. USF was red hot. A lot of people forget that. Coming off a win versus Florida when they played Miami. BTA. Hands and feet were placed upon that team. FSU at the time. I know now we look at FSU not the same, but remember they were a few weeks removed from that huge victory on August 31st versus Alabama, right? Where they physically beat them down. And I know Florida State made it look good at the end. Put a little sprinkles on it, but if you watch that game, you know Miami put BTA on them as well. So that's the thing I like about Miami, is that they play up the competition, but they've also played down the competition. They had SMU right where they wanted them and found a way to lose a game. Carson Beck couldn't stop turning the ball over versus Louisville, right? And Louisville did make some big plays, made some big plays on special teams. Defensively, they made Carson Beck see ghosts. So when I look at this for Miami, I say, hey, you need to win the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage just like Ohio State need to do, right? Mark Fletcher needs to get going. To me, he's the heart and soul of that offense. And then that creates those big plays for Tony. But Carson Beck, this defense that you're facing is real deal. Do not be confused by these Willie schemes that Ohio State likes to do. And they do various Willie schemes. And if you don't know what a Willie scheme is, it's like when you can have zone on one side, man on the other side. They're really confusing. They will also bracket your guys. So while it looks like, you know, if a nickel cornerback is checking a drag, right? And it looks like, oh, he's wide open. There might be an inside linebacker who's, we're bracketing him. He thinks he's ahead. He's not. So the key for Carson Beck is not to get confused. But I've seen Steve Sarkisian get confused against his defense. Matt Patricia has done an outstanding job. I've seen Sharon Moore is no longer at Michigan. Seen him get confused by this defense, right? We've seen Barry Looney Jr. in Illinois get confused by this defense. Luke Altmaier, right? Arch Manning, right? Damon Williams Jr., Bryce Underwood all got confused by this defense. So the key offensively for Miami is don't get confused. Every drive needs to end in a kick, whether it's point after touchdown, field goal, or punt. Absolutely no turnovers. This will be pivotal for Miami in order to win the game. And I agree with Giovanni just said. Miami run the ball and give Carson Beck time to win, avoid third and long situations. That's what we like to call in this business success rate. I agree with Giovanni 100%. Miami needs to win the success rate game and be in those third and comfortable situations. And I think we've been supposed to be off of this segment, been supposed to be off that segment. I was just on one. Let's talk about this Ohio State defense. And I talked about it a little bit earlier. This defense is a scary defense. I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to watch them on film, but yes, they have absolute ballers defensively, but it's the way they make good quarterbacks or elite quarterbacks he goes. Luke Altmaier is a guy I respect a lot. I did a video on him on my Governor of College Football channel, and I'll do more breakdowns. And I can't wait to relaunch that show back in the spring. But I had to come here and do more content on the CFB Nation channel. So live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Thursday, I'm looking to do something special because we should start getting some news in about this transfer portal. And then that Thursday, I know me and Jalen will be live for College Football Showdown. We got a lot to talk about. This defense is damn good. And they have players. They have some names on these players. But Matt Patricia is the master of disguise, and his ace in the hole is Caleb Downs. The way he utilizes Caleb Downs, by the time that Caleb Downs get to the NFL and open an NFL playbook, I'm sure he won't be surprised by anything. He won't be surprised by anything. Shout out to my dog Moon. Shouting out to the squad in the chat right now. We're also doing a mailbag from chat later on in this segment. Make sure you got any questions you want to ask the governor or ask anybody else. Ask them later, and we'll talk about it. This defense is so good. It's really good. Caleb Curry, real deal. Got like 11 sacks on the season. Sonny Styles is legit, and then you get Caleb Downs on that back end. I'm telling you, this defense is damn good. I know when you think Ohio State, you want to talk about Julian Sayin, you want to talk about the wide receivers. This damn defense is legit, right? And then it's going to ultimately come down to who wins this game, right? And I start thinking about who wins this game, right? I just kind of went over everything, what Miami needs to do, what Ohio State needs to do. Ultimately, I think the Hurricanes win this game because their ability to play up the competition. They've been in that deep water quite a few times this year. What they did in College Station a few weeks ago absolutely shocked the hell out of me because I thought heading into that game that Texas A&M had more ways to win than anybody in this country because I've seen them do it. But to hold that stout offense to 3 points, that is dangerous. That is dangerous. And then the game wasn't as close as the score indicated either. It was really, bigger than 10-3 because they had some opportunities down there to score even more. Don't turn the ball over. That will be the absolute key. Don't turn the ball over. Like Giovanni just said, the disciplined team will win this game. I think Mario Cristobal has something under his sleeve this year. Carson Beck has been here and done that. He's played in big games in the SEC. You could tell that kid, and even though the numbers, weren't super stout or gaudy or anything, or any type of adjective you want to use like that, but you could tell he was ready for that game. He was ready for the moment. It wasn't a shock. It's like, oh yeah, I've been in places like these before. Let's go get it. Let's go play ball. And then this kid I got on the screen will be the biggest difference maker. Because I'm sure Matt Patricia and them is going to try to confuse Carson Beck. But the one thing you can't confuse quarterbacks with, if you're not winning that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage, I think Mark Fletcher will have some success running the ball. Give me Miami. Give me Miami in a close one. And Miami will shock the world tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alrighty. So, let's talk about some best fits. Got a lot of best fits to talk about. It's portal season. I love the offseason. Me and Moon have this conversation all the time that, to me, the best college football content creators thrive in the offseason. Like, it's a little bit too easy during the regular season. You're breaking down games. You're doing previews. That's easy. How much work do you really have to do? But when you're putting segments and shows together, whether it's for 30 minutes like I do on this show or an hour like I do on Governor of College Football, you got to really give it the context that it deserves. Need Shannon Dawson to continue to die. Yes, he has to do that. I agree with that 100% more. And also, Carson Beck has to trust him. That trust needs to be there. Trust that he's calling the right plays and he's putting you in the right situations because we've seen him kind of go at Shannon Dawson before after the SMU loss. So hopefully all of that's gone and they're able to trust each other 1,000%. All right, so best fits. Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman is a very interesting situation because he can go anywhere he wants, right? You start thinking about fits. You start thinking about places that he can go and instantly have success. Like leaving Auburn, I know had to be tough for him because some people question, why didn't you leave last season, right? After the freshman season, after dealing with the Peyton Thorne experience, why didn't you leave then? But he's leaving now, and what school wouldn't want him? Every school in America wants him. I was joking with Moon, like him, Chris Henry Jr., and Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis could just mess up the league next year and all just go play for Ohio State, right? That was a joke. I'm really interested in seeing where he goes decide to play. Does he stay in the SEC? Does he go play for Bama? The opposite of the Iron Bowl. And I'm sure Ryan Grubb would be rushing the offseason to have a talent like this. It'd be interesting to see who gets him. I don't really have a best fit for him because he go where he damn well pleases. Texas or Texas A&M? I love Texas, Giovanni. I love Texas. I really do. That would be a great fit. Him going to Texas, there's a need there. We saw Arch Manning mature over the season. We saw that maturation process. So that would be outstanding. So Cam Coleman is the first one that we're going to talk about for best fits. Drew Metzemaker, I said it earlier, there would absolutely be no surprise, right? No surprise at all if Drew Metzemaker decided to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to go what I know and go to Stillwater to play for Coach Morris. We had a lot of success this season down in Denton, Texas. I can go over a little bit, go to Stillwater, and find a way and follow DJ Lagway to Baylor. I would agree with that. I've been hearing that news a lot, DJ Lagway to Baylor. Him going to the Big 12 and Jake Spavital. You guys know how I feel about Jake Spavital and learn a system that I adore. Moon knows, he and I created a playbook. One of these episodes, I'll start showing you some of the players from our playbook because we really do have a playbook. I could pull it up right now if I wanted to. But it's an air raid playbook this offseason. Every offseason, we're going to do an offensive, defensive one. Last year, we started 4-2-5. We didn't finish it, so that'll be the defensive one this year. But he and I discussed it. We wanted to do a veer and shoot playbook. And even though the veer and shoot playbook is really like 15 plays, it's in, in a bunch of different formations. But Cam Coleman to Texas or Texas A&M, I would like that a lot. That would be scary, depending on who decides to go pro or not. So we talked about Drew Metzemaker. I think it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to Stillwater to start and anchor that new regime, in Stillwater. I hated to see what happened to Coach Gundy this past season. Certain things bother me. Not having Bedlam this past college football season, I feel like there's a hole in my heart because we didn't have that, right? Lagway is a hype job. That's hilarious, bro. And then last, but certainly not least, on this list is Reed Harris. Boston College wide receiver, stud wide receiver. I think he's like 6'5", crazy height like that. My boy Nino. And Nino's word is golden to me with anything in college football, but especially with Boston College football because of his proximity to the program, because he's at every Boston College game. He says this kid is dynamite. So does he stay in ACC? Does he go to the Big Ten? I can see a need for him in a bunch of places in the ACC. Pair him with Malachi Tony, that would be scary. That would be super scary. If Miami went and got him, you pairing a speedster and a short route runner with a guy that can create space, get open, but he's going to beat press off of the line of scrimmage and go jump up and get that ball. To me, I would love to see him in Miami. Those are best fit segment. And now we're going to talk about kind of like a Big Ten outlook. How are you guys feeling about the Big Ten heading into next season? I got news for the Big Ten. With Greg Sankey and the SEC going to this 9-game conference schedule, and with that 10th game being a Power 4 team or Notre Dame, I didn't receive a lot of hate from Notre Dame and USC fans lately. I think that pursuit of perfection has to be better than ever. We look at last year, how many teams this conference was able to get into the playoff. Penn State made the playoff. Ohio State made the playoff a season ago. Oregon made the playoff a season ago. And Indiana made the playoff a season ago. This year was 3. Keep in mind, strength of schedule matters more this year. So there was times I thought SC really had a chance. I really thought South Carolina had a chance to make the playoff. Not South Carolina, my apologies. USC had a chance to make the playoff. That's why I was covering them. Squid Ten Toes can tell y'all, because he never missed a show of Governor of College Football, that I pretty much covered that team throughout the duration of the season because I thought they could be dynamic, and I'm an air raid guy. So that just makes sense. So this year we're down to 3 teams. Indiana made the college football playoff. Ohio State made the playoff. Oregon made the playoff. Is that the new standard? That's the question I have for everybody that's a fan of a team in the Big Ten. Is that the new standard? Because is that how difficult it's going to be? And then we got to think about the MOU and the College Football Playoff Committee, that situation with Notre Dame. If they're in the top 12, they automatically make the college football playoff. So we got a lot of things to talk about. Nico decides that he's coming back to play another year at UCLA. I think that's outstanding. Bob Chesney got his guy at quarterback. How are you going to build around him? How active are you going to get in the transfer portal? The players are super important. You know, who you going to get from JMU to come over here and play with you too? Because you seen Billy Napier do that. First year at Florida. Oh, yeah. Let me get Osiris Torrance to come over here and be our stud guard. And he's going to make it to the NFL, right? Minnesota, PJ Fleck. I just feel like they've always on the cusp, right? How are you guys feeling about Minnesota entering into next year? I actually have a close contact at Minnesota. We actually need to visit there next year. In Maryland, they decided to keep Coach Loxley. What does that look like? They were able to retain Malik Washington, even though I don't think he should have stayed at all. No, just no. Like, why are you staying, right? And I'm from the DMV. I just don't know why he's staying. And then Phil Parker and Kirk Ferentz, what they do in Iowa City is just amazing to me. And year in and year out, what they're going to do. We got Pat Fitzgerald, Michigan State. How good is that team from East Lansing this year, right? Kyle Whittingham, head coach at now Michigan. What does that look like? To me, I think he's a bridge coach to introduce a new standard, right? But if he's able to secure Jay Hill from BYU, then he's also able to take great defensive players and offensive players that he needs from BYU via poaching and tampering, of course, and from Utah, right? What does that look like? What does Oregon look like next year? You know, with Evan Seward possibly coming back. I don't know if he's going pro, if he's coming back. If he's coming back, that'll be crazy with him and DeCorian Moore. What does that look like, right? What does Ohio State look like next year? They should be dominant, and I think they're gonna be more aggressive in the portal this year. Indiana, Kirk Cignetti continues to be consistent in his approach. All I do is win. If you thought last year was a fluke, this year it showed you it wasn't, right? What does that look like, right? Northwestern. We saw some success from Northwestern this year. What does that look like? Illinois is losing Luke Altmaier. I believe Caden Fegan hit the portal. Valentine's the guy there. I don't know if the kid Lawfrey is entering the portal. What does that look like? Dylan Raiola has entered the portal for Nebraska. What does it look like for Matt Rule? We know Matt Rule year 3, but what does it look like for Matt Rule in year 4? Penn State, Matt Campbell is in town. Rocco Beck may be your quarterback next year, right? Possibly. Carson Hansen, I think, will be your running back next year. What does that look like for them? Luke Fickell has been granted another year. What does that look like for him? And Jed Fish, we thought he might have been on the move this year, but he's slowly building a special team in Seattle, and next year they may be really special. So that's my Big Ten outlook. I just kind of wanted to talk about this, and this is a series that'll continue. This is just really, I haven't even begun to deep dive. This is just at face value, just a quick outlook. We only get 3 minutes to talk about it. So our last segment, we're doing a mailbag segment. Talk to me from the chat. How y'all feeling? You see the mailbag on the screen. Talk to me, man. What's on y'all minds? What y'all want to talk about? The governor is here to listen. How y'all feeling about these college football games? Talk to me. Very high on Minnesota after the bowl game. Yes. And I think Illinois is playing in the bowl game right now, aren't they, versus Tennessee? Let me do a live looking on the score real quick. Okay, Illinois up 10-7 at halftime. SEC has been struggling this bowl season. Oh, by the way. They really have. Moon, talk to me. What's on your mind, brother? I know Giovanni got something on his mind. Let's do a mailbag segment. I'll tell you something that's been on my mind lately while we wait for people to chime in. The semantics of college football has been on my mind, just like they are every offseason. It's something that I hone in on, something I focus in on, and I have a very broad project I want to do this offseason. And if we can execute it the way that I know it can be executed, I think it'll be great for the sport. But yes, the semantics of college football are on my mind, especially with some of the politics we've been having going on as of late. Especially with agreements with the CFP if you're in the top 12. That's crazy. So, been a fun show. Just to recap some of it. Some of the people just entered the portal. We had Cam Coleman. That's a huge one. Deuce Knight. Drew Metzemaker. Javion Campbell from Kentucky entered the portal. I think Miami wins this game versus Ohio State. I don't know why. I just got a feeling. Jalen felt the same way when we covered this on College Football Showdown, if you haven't seen it. And we did that before the other video was uploaded where people had some issues with it. But as I always like to say there, Moon did ask a question before we get out of here. Which players, coaches, or teams have impressed you the most during bowl season? That's an outstanding question. Fish and Washington impressed me during the LA Bowl. I thought they played outstanding. Both Cal and Hawaii impressed me until the brawl. Very impressed with both of those teams. Penn State and the opt-outs, they impressed me. I think the new regime there can have some success there. Who else? North Texas impressed me as well. People finishing the season. Like I said, I think it's classy to wait until after your season is completed to enter the portal, but I don't think it's classless if you do it early, if you're buried on the depth chart. I don't, and I'll stand on that. So yeah, those are probably the people that's impressed me most during it. And then the opposite of that, I hated for Florida that Coach Summerall was coaching in the playoff. And then I also hated it for UCLA that Bob Chesney was coaching in the playoffs. So we got to do something about that. Once you've been announced to go to another job, let some assistant get an opportunity to get an extra look and see how they prepare for a bowl game and possibly for another job somewhere else. You need to go move on and get ready for your new team. Because if it's a progressive hire, then those expectations are also progressive. And in places like Gainesville, they're through the roof. So, yes, thank you for that question, Moon. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, I'll see y'all Thursday. I'm going to try to get Moon on this show on Thursday because we're going to need to talk because I think we're going to hear some news about some deals that are already done on New Year's Day because the portal opens officially on January 2nd. You all take care.